Hi, my name is Andy and I rescued a manta ray. It was a regular beautiful day at Lady Elliot Island with calm seas and just absolutely stunning conditions. Uh, we had 3 dive groups going in the water that afternoon, and I was the one that chose the dive site, and I chose one of my favourite dive sites called Sunset Drift, which is at the southern end of the island. And from here we took that drift going north towards Lighthouse Bommies, which is well renowned at Lady Elliot. As luck would have it, I was the last group in the water. And we still had a fantastic dive to start with. It wasn't too eventful, we only had a few turtles. The marine life in terms of fish is just absolutely incredible through that area, and the corals are always beautiful and healthy through that little area as well, which is one of the reasons why I love that dive site so much. It's a beautiful, beautiful dive site, even if you get no large marine creatures. Then all of a sudden, in the murky distance, I can start to see the shape of a manta ray coming towards us, and I immediately thought to myself, sweet, we got a manta, and it's just coming from the direction of all the other groups, so everyone else must have seen this manta ray already, and it's now coming to check us out and then probably keep cruising like it has been. However, as it started getting closer, I noticed that on the right side, between its 2 cephalic lobes, there was this black line cutting down her face. And it actually looked quite painful, and I just thought to myself, like, damn, I wonder what caused that injury to it. And then as she gets closer, I can see behind her, there's something trailing her, and it was just like spinning through the water column behind her tail. And I was just blown away of going like, what is this thing behind her? And then when I realized that she was attached to something, I quickly grabbed my knife and stopped. And as I stopped, she just turns her body right in front of me, and I've got the knife, and she was almost as if to say, yep, let's go. And the pause in the video is only a couple seconds, and just that immediate connection between me and that manta ray, it was so beautiful. And to then move ahead and know that she wanted my help, and that I knew she wanted help, was just incredible, absolutely incredible. So as I got on top of her back, I noticed that the way she's hit the line is she's hit it face first, and then it's almost like she's barrel rolled, trying to get away and untangle herself. But without realizing, she's actually made it worse. And it's cut into her face, cut into her tail, and into her skirting on the back of her wing. And from when she got to me, she's had the injury for so long that the wound has actually started to close around the fishing line and literally healing over the line and locking it into her body. And so at this point I realized I'm not going to be able to unwind this girl. I'm going to have to cut all the line and pull the fishing line through her wounds just to set her free and allow her to finish her healing. Yeah, it was pretty brutal to see that, and as I get through this, yeah. Now you'll notice that with manta rays, they have 2 cephalic lobes, which they use mostly for feeding, but they also use it as a form of expression, almost like we use our hands to express. So if they're uncomfortable, they're going to actually start to roll up their cephalic lobes, and then once they're cruising and they're moving through the water pretty fast, they'll actually have them fully curled and just see you later. Now as I'm cutting away the line, what I didn't realize is that the line that was trailing off the back of her body actually started to tangle itself around my reel and my safety sausage, which is a problem because if she took off, that would then pull me along, and I could make the situation worse for her with all the lines and actually cause her more damage, which is something I definitely did not want to do. And upon realizing this, I quickly got my SMB off and untangled it. Rather than trying to do it on my kit at the time, I made sure I took it off, so that way if she did go, I'll just lose a bit of kit and then I'd have to go back and try find her again. So next, what I wanted to try do is follow a piece of line and see where it's going from underneath her body. So as I'm underneath her, I'm moving, making my way down her belly, and then I was following this one piece of line that was actually lodged in her face, and the wound had properly healed over her face as well, which just looked absolutely excruciating. And as I'm following this line up, what I didn't realize is I moved up a little bit too quickly, and this manta is sitting right on top of my chest at this point. And at this point, you can really tell the size difference between manta rays and myself. And as I'm coming up the front, I'm following this line through her face. I didn't realize, but one of her cephalic lobes actually goes over my shoulder. And as it hit my shoulder, she did not like that interaction. It was just like, nah, that's too much. And did this beautiful, what do you call it? Basically gave me a hug. So she flapped her wings right around me, and it's quite a nice photo, if you might add. And then did this really slow barrel roll backwards. And as she did this barrel roll backwards, I saw that line that I got tangled in trailing behind her. And I took that opportunity while she is uncomfortable and resettling herself to go over and actually cut that line off her. So at worst, if she swam away, it wasn't going to catch on anything. So after this barrel roll, I managed to pull a piece off of her, and I handed it to one of my divers so that way we weren't littering in the ocean already. Now at this point, the only part that was left on this manta ray is a bit going through her tail and the other part that was going through her face that I tried to get at earlier. And with her tail, what I noticed is that somehow it's cut into the base of her tail and then fully healed around it to the point I couldn't even tell which direction that line had actually cut in from. It was just so perfectly healed in the middle. And then what was really excruciating to see was when the line that I had to actually pull out through her tail, the end of it was so jagged and rough that by the time I got there to pull it through, I had to just be nice and quick and just bang, just pulled it straight through her tail. And yeah, she noticeably did not enjoy that one at all. But it's good at this point because now all that's left is the line that's going through her face. And so at this point, I've gone back underneath the manta ray, and this time, instead of moving right up in front of her face like I did before, I stayed underneath her and I started pulling this line through her face and getting the last of it out. And then as I got the last of it out, I sort of went to her on the side and I was super stoked. I gave her the okay, had a little celebration with my dive team, and then basically just kneeled down onto the sea floor, and then just watched this beautiful manta that was literally right in front of my face, on top of my head. And then as I'm sitting there, it's getting closer and closer and closer and closer to my head. And the next thing I know, it's on my head and it starts pushing me over, because they do weigh a ton, and even underwater you can feel their weight. So to have that happen and for her to knock me over and be playing with my bubbles as well, just unbelievable. And then after she did that, I think she realized that she was free, and then she slowly made her way along the sea floor, just moving past my divers, just so graceful, so gentle, and then just swam off into the distance. And that was the last time we saw her that day. But the story does not end there. We got all the footage from this manta experience, and we sent that away to Project Manta, who have a database of all the manta rays they've seen at Lady Elliot and on the east coast of Australia. And so by sending them this data, we would be able to tell which manta ray this was, where they've first been seen, and if there's been any other sightings since. And so as we're waiting for these images to be analysed and sent back to us, we did have a dive group that actually went out and saw this very manta ray, and they recognised the wounds, and it was actually cleaning on one of the stations a couple of days later, which was absolutely incredible to see that it still hung around, and we did get a chance to see it again, which was absolutely beautiful. And now for the beautiful part. When we got those images back, it was actually a manta ray that had never been sighted before. That was actually the first sighting this manta ray had ever had. And because the footage was from my divers, they got the chance to name this manta ray, and they gave it a beautiful name called Medee, which was basically their two names joined together. And so now, if you ever see Medee in the water, please make sure you hit me up for a message, so that way I know and I can keep track of this animal. Because just to have this experience is just once in a lifetime, and one memory that I'll never forget. And the luck that I had to have 3 divers in the water, all with cameras, and to be able to film this underwater while I had this beautiful encounter of rescuing an animal, and to see the initial sighting of the animal, the lead up, to see all of that, like, how do you could never predict something like that, and to have that beautiful moment captured forever, it's just so warming. And I would really appreciate any data that any of you get about this manta ray to send my way. That would be absolutely beautiful. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in for another video. I really do hope you enjoyed this story. And if this is something you like seeing and you want to hear more of my stories about this beautiful underwater world that I get to live in, then please put that into your comments. I'm sure I've got some more stories to dig up. Otherwise,